No mai hoki mai, welcome to Warriors Anonymous. We're back for a third episode for 2023. Man, there's some stuff to talk about tonight, but my name is Jared Cronin. Welcome along. Thanks for tuning in, whether it be on YouTube or on our Spotify or Apple podcast channels. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Normally we just, we talk about rugby league and that's all good. But over the past few days, it's got a little bit real, I guess, in New Zealand. There's been some, pretty horrendous weather events coming through and, people losing lives and, towns and homes just getting ruined and that. So just wanted to, acknowledge if you're tuning in from any of those affected places, really, really thinking of you guys. Hopefully we can, maybe just give you a slight distraction for a while maybe a laugh or two here or there as we talk about those bloody Warriors. Let's bring in the boys. Daniel Wharakura. Hey, bro. How you doing?
All good. Kia ora e te whānau. Just to echo the man's words there. Tragic loss of life. And unfortunately, I think, there's more to uncover with that. But it was good to get some more footy, some more competitive footy as well. The season's building in nicely. So, looking forward to breaking that shit down.
That's right. You were the, what did we call you last week? The old, the wooden spoon on top of the pot, just keeping expectations under control. And we kind of needed that this week. Let's bring in also Isaac Sauce. Hey man, how are you?
Yeah, good boys. Good thing we had the spoon on the pot to stop it from bubbling over. Because, you need those sorts of games, right? To bring you a little bit back to reality and pinpoint what you need to work on. So, disappointing. Yeah.
And it's funny, because you go from the first game where it's like, oh, that was awesome. It's just a preseason. And this game, you're like, oh, that was rubbish. But it's just the preseason. So we're cool. We're okay. We're okay for now. Money the sauce. How are you, bro?
Good, mate. I was having a bit of a shock of a week, but then, Jared, you put things in perspective by, mentioning about what's happening in Gisborne and Hawke's Bay. So, just want to make a shout out to, not a shout, that's terrible, but just acknowledging what's been happening and so forth, and thoughts of them. But definitely, keeping it level, but it was right. But I do have a few bones to pick. The halves.
I got a bone to pick.
Super bad though, put in perspective. It
wasn't super bad, but it was disappointing.
There's some areas.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that concerns me.
Yeah. Some basic areas like kicking out on kicking for touch.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Mm.
Yes, we will indeed. Before we get into that, we're going to do short balls, which is a particularly interesting one today, I think, because obviously last week it was lost in all amongst the news was Valentine's Day. I don't know if you boys did anything special for your respective others.
I made macaroni and cheese.
Oh, there you go. The height of romance. Hang on.
We forgot.
Let's cut the segment. No, let's go with the short balls. And this week's theme is which Warriors player would be your Valentine? And we'll start with you, probably the most controversial, Isaac.
Does it have to be a current Warriors player? Or could it be like a past Warriors player?
Ooh, surprise me.
All right. I'll go with old my top's too small for me, Brent Webb. Just, he's just like giving away a little bit on the tramp stamp there. They're like, ooh, he looks like he might be, a good time to take out on Valentine's Day. And that super small top of his.
Yeah, it was riding up a little bit, wasn't it? Just
always riding up. You just left nothing to the imagination. What if he had like a whale tail going on? You would have been like, oh shit, not on the footy field. But yeah, random answer right there.
That's a stunning start. I love that. Moneta, who would be your Valentine from Warriors, past or present?
Let's get to Daniel. My wife's actually boiling the kettle at the moment, so you can probably hear something in the background.
Yeah, gotcha. Let's go to you, Buddha. Who would be your Valentine?
So I'll go for current squad. It'd be Dylan Walker. I just thought Dylan Walker had a great game. He looked slick. And we all remember a few years back when he lost his trunks and he had, let's be fair, baby had back.
Dylan got back.
He was consistent on the squats, wasn't he? Yeah. It's been seared in your memory. Dylan Moonwalker. Hey, there we go.
Dylan don't want none unless you got Valentine.
There's so many innuendos you could go down.
Yeah, exactly. How long's this podcast?
But most importantly, Moneta has the jug successfully boiled.
Yeah, it's just completed its jug cycle.
And also, how loud? Like, they must be one of the loudest things in existence. Jugs, like, you can't really do anything. You put that thing on, you hear it from like down the street. But,
you mean like boiling kettle jugs, eh?
Yeah.
It's got the noise. Yeah. It's just right timing. I wasn't gonna go. Stop! Don't hit that
In the name of love.
Recording in progress. Moneta, who would be your Valentine from the Warriors? Past or
I'm
present?
gonna take it way back to Sean Hoppy.
Oh, namesake.
You always had a thing for him, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Sexiest man alive. Yeah. Rugby league, I mean. And he was on
That's
the wing.
on both codes.
Back in the day, I used to play in the wing, and I was like, hey, man. He was good,
Yeah.
Sean Hoppy.
We need to get him on the podcast.
And he looked good, too.
Yeah, great finisher. I'm gonna. I actually was a little bit sort of all over the place with my one, but I'm going to go current actually, just from seeing the majestic mane flowing in the breeze from Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. That was amazing. I think that is already, I think, shooting up the charts in terms of how good a mullet can get in the league. And just the speed as well, just really showcased it, I think.
I just think of a soul glow.
Yeah.
Sexual chocolate.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a sexual chocolate thing going on, eh? With that haircut.
Yeah, absolutely.
They play so fine, don't you agree? Nah, not the Warriors. Yeah.
That boy got talent.
That boy couldn't tell.
All right, boys, we've got a few things to go over. First of all, before we look into the trial match, there was a few things going on. Dimitri Sifakula got signed up to a top 30 contract, so that's good. Middle forward, young guy coming through the ranks, just, getting our pathways going, which I think is a really, really good sign of things to come. And, hopefully he can do some good things this year. On the opposite side of the coin, we got a little bit excited last week, I think. Probably a little bit too excited about one Luke Metcalf. And I think, just from memory, I think you all had him in the starting lineup before week 8.
Yep, we all
unfortunately, that's not going to happen just because he's going to be out for 8 weeks. So, hamstring injury, I believe, must be a pretty bad one.
It's max 8 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, max 8 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a big blow, both in terms of the top team as well as the New South Wales Cup team in particular. So a bit of a downer to kind of go through the week, which was a bit of a shame. Looking into the trial game against the Storm, our second trial game of the pre-season, Buddha, how would you describe what you saw?
I'm not saying doom and gloom. I just think, look, for 60 minutes of the game, we were very competitive defensively. So if I was Webby and if most Warriors fans, I'd be like, I'm pretty happy defensively. We held our own. We seemed to hold the middle okay. And we're better on the edges. as well. Look, granted, Storm, preseason, there's a lot of fumbling and bits and pieces going on, but some pretty good players there. I was obviously disappointed with the attack; just there was no rhythm or flow at all in good ball. So that's obviously the kind of big work on. And the scoreline blew out, but that's because most of the starters are off. It was a bit of a chop and change and brought the other guys on. So probably just highlighted that, our bottom of the 30 compared to the Stormers' bottom of 30 players are it's a bit of a mismatch. But if I was Warriors fans, I'd be happy that we didn't concede a stack load of points with our main side and we just looked a bit more assured in defence.
Yeah, we showed a lot of grit on defence in that first half with the top guys out there, which was pleasing. One thing that probably wasn't quite so pleasing, and we'll have a little look into the play of our halves, later in the show as well when we talk to our guest who's coming in. Well, he's not coming in, but we're going to get him on the show, Richie Barnett, rugby league legend and also analyst as well. So it'd be cool to get his thoughts on it. But Moneta, looking at our halves in particular, I'm not going to name anyone. But our kicking game wasn't great. And there was a few things not quite going well there. What were your thoughts?
I just want to prefix this with that. I really want to see Sean Johnson do well this year. And, from the shots of like him training and, his abs popping out and all that stuff, it really got me thinking he's really charged for the year and he's really taking care of himself. But what I saw on the weekend was kind of same to what I saw last year. A bit disjointed, not much flow. Oh, that's a hard one, because you really want him to do well, but not much flow in terms of attack. And just some basic errors you would think with someone of his stature and his experience, like not being able to kick it out for touch. Like I said, it's no joy in saying that he wasn't up to standard. But I think he's quite lucky, if I'm being honest, that Luke Metcalf is injured in regards to because he would have been knocking on the door in regards to taking mate or possibly playing that position of Team M. So, like I say, it's not what I don't want to say. It's a hard one to see because I know he's probably trained pretty hard, but it seems like he might have a mental block. I'm not quite sure what's going on. So, yeah.
Maybe he's just foxing us all. Maybe they're just like, you know what?
I hope so.
We're just going to hold all our cards close to our chest.
Oh, man, I hope so. I really hope so.
Because he must... Oh, God. I can't see any more of him holding his cards, It's been a while. So I definitely want him to show up this year, because I'm actually rooting for him.
Reports of people at the game said that there were times where there were massive mismatches, big gaps, that the old Sean Johnson would have just exploited. And you would have heard the crowd booing. It's because they saw that. They were like, come on, mate. Just need to push through. So maybe it's just down to a preseason game and look, hey, let's just get through this. You don't need to bust a calf on the preseason game. But I think when the matters, you want to see him. I don't know. We didn't see him take the line on or look to get tackled with the ball. We just can't afford that, And if he doesn't do that, then there might be some replacement time, right? He might find himself on the outer.
And I feel that's why people are quite excited about Luke Metcalf, because what they saw in him in that first preseason game is a lot of what we would have seen Sean Johnson do in the past. Just pin his ears back, attack, have fun. Like, I can't think of many games last year and the years gone by where Sean Johnson has played with a smile on his face and just played heads-up footy. I think, we've talked about this at length through a lot of last year. And then you see a game like that in the preseason, you're just like, you're seeing too much of that Sean Johnson, the guy that's just not really sort of taking over a game like he used to and is just a constant threat. I kind of feel like now that, I'm living in the past with Sean Johnson. I keep expecting him to be the player that he just isn't anymore. But what really gets me is that normally players of that sort of stature, let's say your JTs and your whatnots, they lose something with age, but they gain a lot with experience. But I don't see that with Sean Johnson. I don't see the experience side comes of it, because that's the not kicking out in the fall. You know, the 7 tackle sets from a long kick. It's those sorts of things that just gets me scratching my head. If we're not going to have the old Sean Johnson, what is the new Sean Johnson bringing? And I'd love to see him prove me wrong. No one more so than me, but I'm getting tired of it. And so when I see Metcalf play the way he did, then I'm excited. Then the joy is back.
Yeah.
So I want SJ to do well. I really do, but he's going to have to do a lot to convince me this year.
I think we'll just take a little bit of a pause there. We'll come back in just a couple of moments here on Warriors Anonymous with our special guest, Richie Barnett, who will be in the house to talk about talk about league, talk about life, talk about everything. It's going to be quite a time. We'll catch you in a second. All right, welcome back to Warriors Anonymous. As promised, we've got a special guest joining us on this particular episode. Welcome along to rugby league legend Richie Barnett. How are you, man?
Very good, very good. Been a long day, but a good day, and we're getting good weather.
Yes.
Which is a positive. It's been pretty telling, of course, but the last 4 days have been awesome. But to respect to the people that are going through a tough time in those regions, our thoughts and prayers are certainly with you in those areas, particularly in Hawke's Bay, Napier, and Tairāwhiti.
Beautifully said, man. I understand you've been out helping out people as well with their properties and whatnot.
Yeah, well, we got a call from one of the girls in our I Am Hope team, and she just said, listen, the guy's just struggling. He's on his own. He needs some help. And we just said, yep, let's do it. So we put our hand up and went out and spent a whole day just helping the titch out. So that was quite good. And, it was just nice to help somebody that is in need, and, just to see it actually is, and that was at the lowest level in terms of what we're seeing, but just to get some support, just knowing that there's people around here who want to help in some way, and that was awesome, and he was very grateful for that. But that's what you do, I guess, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Hey, on the positive side of things as well, I understand last week you had a bit of a milestone. You celebrated your 22nd wedding anniversary. So congrats, mate. Just wondering.
For that. She's actually, my lovely wife is actually doing some schoolwork. Can you believe it? It's 8:30 now, and she hasn't stopped all day from 7 o'clock. 7.
There you go. There you go.
7. And,
sorry, right? Jeez.
I cannot believe that. Anyway, it's just mind blowing. Teachers don't work. So yes, it was 22 years, and she was drinking red wine. The antidote.
So that you're doing a test at the moment, Richie.
But hey, but I remember Carrie, because we've been together since we're 15, and we've been so we've been here together about 37 years, and I remember the first time when I went over to Cronulla, and I was waiting for her to come over. What? I'm not going to say that story when she was really drunk. Not that one. And I was there. I had it like 2 months to myself, and I was dying for her to come over. She arrived at the Cronulla Sharks ground. She was pissed. Like, seriously. And then I went, oh, she really is. Like, oh, wow. Oh, it's a good podcast. What about me?
Whose romance is dead?
But anyway, we didn't have any money, right? And we were just on the bones of our backside. Like Carrie took some money over, and but we ended up staying at Al McPherson's dad's place.
Wow.
That's where we stayed for the next 8 months. So, it's quite an interesting story. That people don't sort of know the background story of it, how you started, but that's how we started. But it was cool staying at his place.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
You got any words of
person didn't walk by though, any chance at that time?
No, because when they those photos, I think we looked into the photo album, which was interesting. But But we did when she had arrived. They would we'd sort of have to leave, but most of their family would be amongst it. And yeah, just decent, normal people. Like they really are a nice bunch of people. And he was the CEO of our club at the time. That's why her affiliation, Al McPherson affiliation with the club, was a big one. You know, she backed it solely because her dad was a big part of our club way back in the day.
Awesome. Bro, have you got, I just got married last year. Daniel and Moneta have been married a few years. Isaac's due to get married shortly. Have you got any words of advice for us boys?
Yeah, I do actually. I do from happy. It is not about you, but although we've got our own characteristics and that, but I think just being, we have got our characteristics. I can be quite stubborn. I can be quite stubborn sometimes. So I think it's just being aware of what your behaviour is like sometimes, and then being honest and open about stuff. You know, my wife always says honesty is the best policy. But just respect each other. Like, there'll be times when things are not so great, and that's the time to have that conversation. Talk a bit more than just putting it under the carpet and just, I guess, like most people do, avoid it or move away from challenges. And that's one thing that we've had. We've had such a great relationship together to be able to talk, and we've never really argued a lot, to be honest, because we've just got such good synergy, I think, which helps for a relationship like ours. But I know some people have quite, you know, they're quite different characters, and that's cool sometimes, because it is challenging. It's nice to be able to work with different people with different characters.
For sure. Wise words. Very wise.
Wise words. How's it sound, boys? Saucy, in particular, mate.
I'm going to have to loop back on this podcast later on and just take out that segment and just listen to it on repeat. So just don't fuck up. Don't fuck up.
Yeah, that's it.
Maybe a glass of red wine will help her out too. See how it goes.
Yeah. Who needs background, right? We've got voiceovers on the back down there. My wife will throw in her bit. She'll edit anything or something. True. I've got two voices. You know that, eh? The inner critic. I've got me over here, and then I got my wife over here saying.
Is she running this?
I'll be truthful.
This is my podcast.
But obviously, Richie, you're used to a normal professional setup with your incredible role as an analyst on Sky Sport. So I guess the question now, well, the information our listeners want to hear, because they're sick of listening to us ramble on about what we think the Warriors are doing, good, bad, and
bunch of nobodies.
So, nobodies. So we want to know from you, kind of, give us some insight around what you think the Warriors need to do this year, in particular, to get a little bit of success.
Yeah. I don't know, because I hear a lot about culture. Like, I've been in sides that we used to graft, like, and the effort's always there, right? Every year they say you increase it by 10% because everyone's trying to find that edge, right? So, you know, the Warriors, and it is about selection of players, and it is about culture, and it's an overused word, but when you enter a side, you're going to give as much as you can give, right, in certain circumstances, because you think you've got a whole life of years of the game, right? And it's not true. It's not true. You've got to actually look at 1 year and go, I'm going to go all out for this year, you know, because it might be the only time I have. You could get injured, you could be replaced. That's just the nature of the game. Belief is a huge part of, I think, in the game. When you've got self-belief in yourself that anything you do and you're determined to do it, you're really hungry. Most people are. Right? But it's that belief, I think, that anchors you down. It's that sort of thing that you don't know it's happening. It's a subconscious pattern that most players have. We work hard, don't get me wrong. We're potential, unbelievable. Well, we've got all those, but unless you've got true belief that you can do anything, that's the part where I think is the gap that's missing between some of the players. And I know they've had, because I'm baffled by it, because they'll have some good players that come in, and then you've got that space and time where it's just been amazing, like the 2002 model, you know, when they often said, like I heard this conversation so often, oh yeah, the Polynesian players, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Most of those were Polynesian players in 2002, and they kicked ass. So that's a fallacy and a belief that people have, but it's really trying to get people in the same realm of thought that, let's go, guys. You've got this, and that belief needs to be so 100%. It can't be at 60 or 70. It's got to be 100%. And that's what most of the teams that I've played in, particularly the Cronulla Sharks and the Roosters, they have got absolute belief. Built in them. It's wired in them since they were coming through their grades and their systems, and they were competitive at every level. Everyone competes really hard. And I think we're sort of lacking that in this country in terms of our current rugby league, I guess, framework here in New Zealand. It's not at a high standard. So that's why most of them leave to go over in a system which is high performing. I get it because their resources are drawn upon so many clubs over there, right? It's like having a Warriors in every area of Auckland. You know, that's the harsh reality of what they got. You know, so we've just got to be right. We've just got to get better. Either you pick up your game and maybe follow some patterns. Like, well, I remember when I was, 12 years old? I used to read books, watch videos, get up at 5:30 and run kilometres. Like, it's not a recipe. It's not something that's, wow, that's amazing. To be the best, you got to do more than the next person, right? And so I had to do that. I just found what other people are doing. And funny enough, Aussie were doing the best things currently that any sports team were doing here in New Zealand and Aussie, right? They've got the template of success. So just follow that. Follow that and do it. And do it regularly and make it a habitual pattern.
Awesome. I think you highlight a few points. I think that level of belief, right? And you see it with the Panthers last year. You see it with the Storm generally. Their players take the field. You know, they know the quality they have as well. And probably when you can compete for a little bit, but those top teams with that belief just going to run right over you, right?
So even you know it, Daniel. Like, even you know it. You know when the Melbourne Storm come to play, you know that they're going to win. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a blueprint for them to come over there. And, you know, even if they compete really hard, and it's just almost an identity that when you play the Melbourne Storm, it's 9 10 teams they may win, right? Highly likely. So they've built an identity and hard work. I know they worked extremely hard and they pushed them to the nth degree with good coaching and stable environment. So it's not something that it's just been, it was at the day dot when they started, They selected well, they had the current culture. So it is very much that. It is very much that. They just know it. It's embedded in them. They walk around like it's just going to happen.
Is that almost like a Kiwi thing though, with people not wanting to stand out and, you know, trying to avoid, the tall poppy syndrome? Kiwis tend to be quite humble and down to earth. But I guess in terms of the rugby league world, is that a little bit of a handbrake for players coming through in New Zealand? They don't want to stand out too much, or they don't want to, you know, pump themselves up too much, and almost sort of hampers their belief.
I totally agree, because I'm all about that physiological changes, right? Knowing that someone has got, I love that respect, humility, and all that sort of stuff. I get that, but when you're playing sport and you want to win, you've got to turn that dial, walk across that white line. It's all game. You can have all that outside it, but when you cross that field, it's like, let's go, baby. This is it. You know, us against them, and I'm not going to back down. All the thing that I want to do when you walk out is to beat my opposing player, because that's all you can control. You know, your performance first and foremost, but then trying to beat your opposing player. But I do absolutely agree with that. We're just too humble enough not to show that you got a bit of confidence. You need to stand tall, and and that's all about the physiological change. It's been proven by Harvard University around when your body language and your power poses, all that. We actually read it in games, right? When someone is down, we isolate, we recognize and identify players that are not feeling great. So you just zone in and go, right, head to the left, let's isolate him because he dropped the ball and you can see him dropping his head, so we'll just go hard at him. Mm-hmm. So that, you know, we're actually identifying as players, but as I guess whether it's anyone that's probably got an act of humility and, you know, that tall poppy syndrome, don't try to shine out. No, man, shine out. But unfortunately, people in New Zealand, when you're shining out, they think you are all that, right? They think, look at that guy.
Yeah.
Look at him. Who does he think he is? Well, he just said he's confident. He just looks confident. So maybe it's your problem. Maybe it's your problem that you're not lifting your game and your standard, because I see it, and that's part of what I do as I'm an NLP practitioner. So body language is everything in our game. When we register weakness, we register someone's feeling down, unfortunately we'll target it. Harsh reality.
Yeah. It's funny that, talking about that whole humility thing with New Zealanders, my partner's from Japan, and they have a saying over there that the nail that stands out gets hit the hardest.
Yeah, true.
So I almost feel like that's very similar to how Kiwis feel. If they stand out from the rest of the nails, they're the ones that are going to get whacked the hardest. And I feel like sometimes that's not necessarily fair. It's not their fault. They put in a lot of hard work to get into that position, and maybe we take that onto the field as well, and we sort of shrink back and don't want to dominate like we could,
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with that. So see, I think that's a really good analogy of that. And it's all fear-based. Fear of standing out, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of not being good enough. It's all those things that really are a real force in terms of shining out, because we just protecting ourselves just in case we fail. Don't worry, I grew up with a fear of failure and a fear of public speaking and a bit of perfectionism, so I really get what that looks like and feels like. But just work ethic and belief is a big part of nailing that down. No matter what happens, if you fail, that's great. If you stuff up, perfect, keep going. Because most of the things that we do now is based on fear of stuffing up. Such a risky thing, but that's what's curbing us from growth. We're just not pushing it. We're just worried about not doing that. No, go out and play. If you stuff up, who cares?
Yeah. It's really comforting, because I feel like us as a podcast, we stuff up all the time. So I think there's so much we can take from there.
We do.
I can testify.
I agree. I think our world is, I think that's part of the problem where if we look at mental health and wellbeing is we're so worried about what other people think, say, or do, and, if you stand out, you do a podcast and they go, what is this? And I'm going, it's awesome, because I like authenticity. I love it. Sometimes I just hate structure sometimes where everything has to be perfect. You're kidding me. People like talking to you guys. It's so real and, not scripted, and, it's so cool. And, I love it.
Yes. Awesome.
And your wife's coming off in the background too.
Is she? What do you want right there?
I think you're going to get him in trouble.
Sorry, Mrs. Barnett. Sorry.
Isaac.
I can't get away because, my English and that's really poor. When I'm writing, it's the worst. But my wife's a literacy and numeracy teacher, right? So Imagine it. Can you imagine it? When I write post, and my spelling's terrible sometimes, and then I just push it because I don't read it because I'm like, what? So I ramble. There you go, I ramble.
I'm not sure about that, Richie. I saw you.
My grammar and my sentence structure that you said is woeful.
Same.
So guess what I do? Just do it for the reason to.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that, Richie. I saw your bio and it mentioned how eloquent you are. In your bio, one of your bios, it mentioned how eloquent you are in regards to.
That's when sometimes when I speak, sometimes I have to be, right?
Oh yeah.
9 p.m. She's shutting her laptop down.
Did she come to join the podcast?
Yeah. Can you say hello for a second? Because you're a big part of my whole journey in my life because we knew each other since. Like, you were kidding me. Oh, she's going to come a little. She's going to come and say hello. She's been a big part of my whole journey. Without her, there's no way I would have. I don't think I would have. But she was a big part of our rock to where I am today. She's just amazing. Their family's been incredible, and she's a lovely mother of my 2 children. So which is just gold. Now she's away.
The coast is clear. It was really good, yeah. It was convincing.
She's right behind you, by the way.
Yeah, coming around the corner.
Well, you know, they've got ears, they can hear it a mile. Yeah, that's right. You can hear it. Of course you can. I'm doing that bloody 75 hard at the moment. Oh.
What is that?
Hey? 75 days, no drinking.
I don't want to
2 45 minutes sessions. Say hello to my wife.
Hey!
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Thanks for making Richie the man that he is.
Exactly.
Credit for that, actually.
Can you give us? Well, I don't know. You guys ask the questions to wifey.
I'm happy to sit down.
I think Isaac's got some questions. He's getting married soon.
Okay.
Hard-hitting questions, Isaac.
Enough of marking and carrying on. So,
Well, first question is what
I see and what she sees.
what year students do you teach?
7 and 8. Oh, 7. I'm actually 7 this year. Gosh, I've had
Year 7 or are they 7 and 8 year olds?
no year 7 this year.
Oh,
yes.
cool. Awesome.
Babies. I haven't had that before, and I haven't had that in a long time.
Nice.
What is year 7? I'm a little bit behind the times now.
11?
Form 1?
1.
Form 1?
Form 1.
Yes.
Ooh.
The golden years.
The golden years. Yeah, the golden years. Yeah.
And are you a Mad League fan, or has Richie dragged you into the wonderful world of League?
Oh no, I love all sports. So I do love rugby league. I love rugby league. I love rugby union. I like netball.
Yes.
I'm just mad sports. I love all sports. So yeah, I do love rugby league. It's great.
Awesome.
She was brought up in a rugby union family, and then actually I played rugby when I was a kid as well, so I was a cross-coder. But Carrie was
I played rugby union.
Oh, she played rugby union as well.
I did.
Yes. Yeah.
I was one of the only white people.
Okay.
I was, and I loved it so much. I would have played rugby. I would have carried on had it not have clashed with netball. Yeah, I loved it. Great sport.
Just while we're talking about
So
the other,
proud of Black Ferns.
yes, I was going to ask you. While we're talking about the other code, obviously to the boys, I feel that the women's game is just in rugby union and league to a certain degree is just a new product. It's very different to what the men's rugby is, and since the Black Ferns' success, it's just yeah. I know you guys, but would love to see more of it. Are you seeing and hearing more female equality when it comes to sporting opportunities?
We even took I teach at Buckham Speech Intermediate, so
Yeah.
eastern suburbs, and you wouldn't really think that probably female rugby would take off there. And was it last year or the year before? You forget because of COVID. Was it last year? I can't remember.
I
God.
can't remember what I did last week.
Anyway, we took a girls rugby team at BBI, and we won. We did. Remember we took them to Auckland Champs? And it was amazing. And girls, female rugby in all schools, whether it be, eastern suburbs, central, whatever, is really taking off. And I must say big ups to Auckland Rugby because they've been amazing in supporting and really trying to grow rugby, because I know that it is declining for boys.
Rugby league show.
Okay, we're good.
You want to just
Ups to Auckland Rugby because they're doing a great job, and they really are supporting
really?
rugby for boys and for females.
Can you just edit that last bit? No. I just saying.
No, I think it's important because I don't think league has got the same uptake, I would say. So I think then you get on board and grow the female game.
Well, the NRL Rugby League one that they built on, which was probably the best similar, I think, because it's not a global thing, but that National Women's Rugby League thing is wicked. That was awesome. and their pay parity is changing, which they're doing again. So that's definitely shifted in rugby league. But on a global scale, because of the sevens and because of the World Cup and all that, it's completely different. You know, they've got the pathway system, but with NRL, it's fantastic that you're able to play grand finals next to each other as well.
Yeah.
So it's been a big change, and it's been rewarding now. I mean, even you see the commentators now that it's now a balanced feel about it too. So it's all good. It's healthy.
Rugby union
It's
and
healthy
rugby
for
league.
viewerships too, for both. You know, to watch.
Yeah, I think it's
Incredible.
Nice.
Yeah.
And,
Just a quick question. Have you guys ever actually thought about doing a podcast of your own? Because it's really watchable.
We should do a podcast, but I don't think I'll get a word in.
The Barnetts.
Keeping up with the Barnetts.
Oh, when we had the kids here, it was 10 times worse.
Busy with the Barnetts.
Oh yeah, that would have been hilarious.
We had a bit of a marae whānau situation where we had quite a few people living with us for a number of years, and it was interesting. So, no, we've had a lot of laughs over the years. Honestly, 2 years ago, it would have been a crack up. Yeah.
There's something
But
in
it's
that.
boring now. It's just the two of us.
In the UK, there's the
No, our kids are gone.
in the UK, there's Peter Crouch, the ex-footballer, the tall guy who used to play for Stoke. He's got a podcast with his wife, and it's hilarious.
Really?
Yeah. I think, to be fair, she just takes the piss out of him the whole time. But
There's the blueprint.
The blueprint.
Yeah, we could do that. I mean, you can do that.
Monday, shouldn't be drinking.
Well, nice boy.
I love it.
Healthy.
kind of gone off piste a bit, but through the years, and you can't say Richie is your favourite player. Obviously, would have been, you would have watched him, but talk us through some of the great footy players that you saw Richie play with.
Loaded question, was it? Wow.
No, if this is going to be answering the question, how long have we got? You know how
stood out.
like in normal Sky, you've got a few seconds to react.
No, I'm laughing for different reasons.
So what other reasons?
Andrew Eddinghausen.
You got a story? You got a story?
Luke Ricketson.
Oh, Rico.
Oh, Rico. These are quite handsome gentlemen, eh?
No, I'm joking. It was a former there. Really good. Oh, Bundy.
Oh, yeah, Les Davidson.
Yeah.
He was, well, you've always said,
Paul Green. Very sad.
RP, yeah.
Very upset about that. It was devastating.
Yeah, it's tough, eh?
Yeah, very devastating. We knew Greenie really well. We all started at Cronulla at the same time, and that was a really big shock. Yeah. He was. I just couldn't believe it. The day we heard, we were just in absolute shock. For those people that didn't know Greenie, he is I hate even saying it in past tense, an extremely intelligent person. He had his pilot's license. Out of everyone, you just would never have expected that, literally, out of everyone. He was just the most incredible, articulate, intelligent man who came from the most incredible family. You know, we knew his parents, his sisters. He was, that was, wow, just incredibly sad. Very, very, very sad, eh?
Yeah,
just
it was.
Terrible, terrible, terrible time.
Well, but you would have, I think you missed a few of these top players that I played with that.
Freddie Fittler.
He was all right.
Jason Smith. Quinton Pongia. Yeah.
Richie, did you ever cross over with Gary Freeman?
Yeah, I did. I played
Yes, sir.
my last test match with him in the World Cup in 1995. So that was quite nice to play with Wiz back then. And it was nice to play, with the old school guys that come through. It was a nice balance between, the new and the old. Like Stacey was coming through, myself. I think we had Frank Puliatua come through. They were only 18 years of age. We had Leslie Vainakolo that was there as well. And they were just coming through just to check it out. They were monsters. It's like, what are these beasts doing here? They're 18. They were massive, and they stayed with us for a couple of years, but it was nice. We had such a good balance of players. We had the Edos, we had, like Johnny Lomax, Quinton Pongia. I mean, I absolutely love those guys. Sean Hoppy and guys like that. Rubes was coming through there as well, and Wiz, Kevin Edo,
Awesome.
Matthew Ridge, Sean Hoppy. My back three partners.
Yeah, that was the era that we kind of grew up watching league, didn't we, boys? The first one, I love with it. Yeah, collecting cards, watching.
I had such a great respect for I played. I was blessed to play with Sean and Matthew Ridge. Just that back.
Hugh McGann.
Huey.
Hugh McGann.
He's figuring out. She's one of the.
Hugh McGann. Amazing.
Good man. Yeah.
Love Kiwi. Love his wife. Amazing people.
Would it be fair to say, Richie, across your career and post-career as an analyst, that there wouldn't have been any player that quite pulled off the socks down like Gary Freeman?
That's true. He was shocking at the haka. He was amazing, actually. There's no one like him. He just talked to the death, which you want, right? But it was just a short spell with him. But I watched his career over that long period of time. But you're right, short. I hated having. No, I did do that. I couldn't do it either because I used to get cramps in my legs. So I used to have it down. So there's always a reason for something, And people go. So that was my reason. I used to get cramps all the time.
Right.
Did you ever play with Brent Todd?
Yes, I did. He was one of them in the 95 tour. And again, he was a West Coaster, tough as nails, Toddy was awesome. Loved him.
His nose was looking a bit wonky by the end of the playing career.
Yeah, he did.
It was, got better.
But those guys, I remember, Quinton was like an angry man, and then he kept charging through the middle. He was at Western years ago, and I came through, and he had a few seasons under his belt then, Toddy. He was with West Tigers at the time, and he was playing with, it might have been Jimmy Dimmock at the time, because he was coming through. And but he was just great, just the steady, charge through the middle, get to the play of the ball, away you go. Tough as nails. You can't beat them. You learn a lot from guys like that, eh? You really
so
do.
How would you compare that to now with our current forward pack?
I don't
the
know.
Warriors.
I actually
could you compare it, or would you?
It's interesting because the individuals are different. They are different. They're in a different world, a different time zone.
You can't compare.
You can't compare it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. No.
After speaking to some of these lads from different clubs and getting their insight to how they view the players, the young players coming through now, not good. Not good. They're entitled, some of them. They don't work as hard. They don't get on with it. They have more rights and stuff as well, where back in the day, and I hate to use that word, but it was just, got on with it, But hearing what they were saying, it is quite a different model now. There is so many things that are different, and that's okay. The game's definitely improved leaps and bounds. I like the fluency of the game, the way it's spread, the ball spreads out wide. I don't like the set plays. I like to be more ad lib, but that's just the way the game is now. But I love the athleticism. Far out the speed, the quickness of it is ridiculous. They are fit humans, eh?
I've got a question that's actually, we're going to ask you anyway, Richie, but seeing as we've got Carrie here as well, this might be a good opportunity to get both of your perspectives, because you suffered a really bad facial injury in one of the Kiwi tests, I think it was.
Oh, yeah,
So
I remember that.
can you guys take us back from both of your perspectives, like what happened and what that time was like for you guys?
Well, I'll quickly how I felt through it. It was probably one of the worst accidents I've ever had. I had, 10 plates. It was a complete reconstruction. I was in intensive care for 7 days. I got a tracheotomy here, which, because I couldn't breathe within those 7 days because there was so much bleeding. So I had a tube out here that I had to breathe through. And every hour on the hour, I'd suck it out. So I couldn't sleep at all during the 7 days. Every hour on the hour, they'd come and suck out all the blood and the saliva out so I could breathe. I couldn't move. I had heaps of, I had in both arms, I had needles in them. I had a catheter inside as well, so I couldn't move at all. And the pain was excruciating. And the more I tried to pump morphine, it just didn't take it away. So they reckon it was like having a car accident, which a good mate of mine did back in the 1980s, and it was the same similar injuries he sustained. But luckily for me, I was in a new era, right, where it's completely different now, and they were able to reconstruct my face in the way it is now. I still got the 10 plates inserted, but it took me about 8 months to recover, which was quite a lot of emotional and physical challenges I had to face. I lost a lot of weight. I lost 15 Ks in the 2 weeks.
Cool.
I couldn't. I had my jaw wide for 6 weeks. I couldn't eat anything. And Carrie will just pass you on to the stuff that I guess she saw. Mine's pretty downplay, but what did you see?
To be honest, it's actually that actually made my heart race, and I was sweating.
Oh, well.
I haven't talked about this in a long time. It's probably one of the worst things we've ever been through. How do I explain this? I feel quite, my heart's racing talking about it. So at the time, when it happened, I was there at the field, and I didn't really realise, because where I was sitting, it was in the far corner. You remember it happened in the corner when he was, trying to, obviously, if it's fullback racing to save a try, Wendell Saylor was trying to score the try, so it was in the far corner. And I didn't really see it. And I knew that they'd had a sort of a bit of a head clash, and I thought, whatever, big deal, get up, Rich, hurry up. And then he went off, and I was thinking, I did not think it was a big deal. I thought, maybe he's broken his nose, we'll get back on the field. Anyway, so he didn't come back on, and I was just like, talking to all the girls, and I wasn't drinking. I was pregnant. So I was like, and then I think it was by the end of it, probably in the second half, I was like, Rich isn't coming on the field. That's really weird. But then they were being thrashed by the Aussies, and I thought, maybe they're just not going to put him back on the field because he was injured. So what I didn't realise at the time was that they'd been looking for me, and then, long story short, they found me and they said it was serious, and I ended up going to, I think it was St Vincent's Hospital emergency. It was Friday night. It was actually his birthday on the 21st of April, and it was a complete shit show. When you go to, I was a police officer at the time in Sydney, and when you go to St Vincent's Hospital on Friday night, you are there with all the druggies, you're there with, stabbing victims, whatever. It was an absolute nightmare. Luckily, we were there with the New Zealand rugby league team. Medical staff were there, the Roosters medical staff, who at the time when the Australian medical staff came. And, so that was the beginning of the nightmare, to be fair. And we didn't realise how bad it was. And he was just sort of sitting there. And then, they realised that basically he'd shattered every single bone in his face apart from, I'm just trying to think, nose, cheekbones, jaw.
Facial.
It was terrible. So and because it was Anzac weekend. So a lot of the surgeons and specialists were on holiday. we were very, very lucky that one of the plastic surgeons was actually available because it was a major reconstruction. And what they didn't know at the time is that I was 11 weeks pregnant with our first child. So it was at that really vulnerable stage of pregnancy. And anyway, he went into surgery. And at the time, I mean, we'd moved to Sydney, so we didn't have any family over there. And I still didn't really understand the seriousness of it until, the surgeon spoke to me and said, we were expecting about, 7 or 8 hour surgery. Here's our number. You can call us and we will answer the phone in surgery, anything you want to know. So anyway, I'm sitting there and it was about 9 hours, I think, and I called because I hadn't heard. We're still in surgery. I think it was 11 or 12 hours, the surgery. And then I was allowed to go and visit. So at the time, he was in ICU and they had put what we didn't know, which I found really, really strange. I just didn't understand how. I got how media wanted to get hold of the story, but I didn't understand how people really wanted to know what was going on. So they had people trying to lie to get in to get photos of him in ICU. I found that so weird.
That's wrong.
Very strange. Anyway, I finally went. I got to go there, and they warned me as I was going up the lift. You're not going to recognise him, but they were really worried about me with being 11 weeks pregnant. And I kept thinking to myself, I'll be fine. I'm going to be fine. This is good. Went up and I thought, I just need to, not show emotion because I knew it'd be really awful for him. Anyway, when I walked in the room, he was completely and utterly unrecognisable. Completely. The only people that know how he looked is Jason and Anna Lowry. They know. They came to visit, and it was an absolute shock. And it was terrible. I remember seeing him and trying to hold it all together. And I walked out, and I actually fainted. And I'm not a dramatic person, but no, it was really, really bad. And my mum flew over to help. He was, so I had media ringing me. I had a person from the media call me, which I didn't know. I answered my phone and they said to me, how do you feel that your husband nearly died on the operating table? I'm like, what? I had no idea it was that serious. And that's what some asshole said to me. So anyway, it was a really long road to recovery. He got home. We had to learn how to suction the tracheotomy because if he choked, he would die. So we had to learn how to put something down to suction that out.
Forgot about that.
It was terrible. I can't even, I've got no other words to say but the fact that it was absolutely horrendous.
So on a good note,
I do remember. I remember distinctly the news breaking because I watched the game, and then the following day, I think it was in the news bulletin saying that you'd suffered bad facial injuries, and I distinctly remember it because my sister said, "Oh no, not the good-looking one." So yeah.
No, Jared, no.
True story, right? Yeah.
Not Richie. But I guess after all that and it's pretty traumatic experience, and I hate to say, forgive me if I'm wrong, but quite a life-changing experience with everything that you do now. Was that the catalyst for maybe changing your way of thinking or how you view life? Because for me, if that happened to me, that would definitely cause some sort of shift, whether it's good or bad. So I can only assume that, you went the other way and took it as a positive or moved in a positive direction.
Yeah, definitely. I found that I had a good opportunity when I put my mind to it, I go for it. But
talking about your first.
Yeah, my first game back. Oh,
It was horrendous.
It was, I guess, with the trauma associated with pain and stuff that's linked to an event. Like, all I thought is, I can't go back out there again. I don't know if I can do this. I can't go through the pain and go through all this again.
Can I interrupt?
No, because I'm going to say.
No, I was so.
Because your stories, I know, like, females like to draw it out.
But
And with podcasts, I know with podcasts, you just sort of trim it back. You've got to go short.
You're good. You're
segments.
good. No,
Oh,
you're good.
Frank Endicott. No, this is a
Good,
really
good.
good story.
No, that ain't podcast.
So, I don't care. Frank Endicott, he believed in him. So it was like completely written off, like never going to play again, never going to play. He was like, oh my God, just surviving. And Frank Endicott, he is the most incredible person. He called Richard every week. What are you doing? How are you going? How are you going? Yeah, I remember this. So at the time, he was a Kiwi coach. And then it was like, I don't know. So that happened on the 21st of April. And I can't remember what date the first World Cup. You guys can research it, like October the something.
October.
Whatever it was. So Frank Endicott kept just ringing him every single week. What are you doing? What's happening? How are you going? And then he said to Rich, I want you to come to the World Cup. And this was just like, seriously, this guy was, what, how many kilos?
What, about 79?
Oh,
79?
He was half the person. And Frank was like, you can do this. I need you to come back. I want you to captain the Kiwis. And Rich was like, okay. And he said, I'm gonna ring you. I'm gonna check in every single week.
So I made a decision.
And he did.
I made a decision on the 6th month. And I said, I'll do it. I was physically sweet. Like, I was in probably the best shape I've ever been, to answer your question, Saucy, around that. The best shape I've ever been in. I just started slowly because I couldn't do anything physical because my
Bike classes.
yeah, my face would jolt, so I couldn't. It would be jarring, and I had nerve damage, so I couldn't run. So I just had to get on bikes, and so I did that, the bike cycling stuff, and I got so fit. In fact, I was the fittest in some of the camps that we did. I was just blowing them out of the park. And I was just going, wow, and because I was so eager to get there. But me, like, as physical as I was going to another level that I found, and probably because of the going through such an ordeal, that nothing really mattered anymore, So that part of it was great.
Yeah.
But mentally, I struggled. Like 2 weeks before the game, I started thinking about what could happen, what could go wrong, and I started to internally, I'd be thinking in my head about stuff that could go wrong. So for 2 weeks, I didn't sleep before the first game. And the first game was against Lebanon, and it was atrocious conditions. And I went, holy shit. And I was nervous as hell. All the players were coming up to me. I had to show confidence, and as a leader, I had to stand tall, but I was just shivering and nerves. I was just going, I'm putting on a face. And so, but I went out there that time, and I actually won the player of the match. I scored 2 tries. And then I went through that whole ordeal. It was 6 weeks of it, but it was consuming so much of my energy. It was really drawing upon me. It was starting to, I had a great series, don't get me wrong, but I still had that element of self-doubt around 10%, which is all you need, that although I performed extremely well because I'm a perfectionist, it wasn't quite to where I wanted it. But anyway, I got through all that, and I played another 4 years.
You missed Madison's birthday.
And I missed my daughter's birthday because this one here, birth, because we made a decision that for me to get back on the bike again, Carrie said that, this you've got to do this. You're going to miss your child's birth, which is huge, right? Everything that I've wanted was a child, and I missed it, and she gave me permission to go. So not a lot of people know that.
Well,
That's
it
crazy.
wasn't. It's not like it was just at the time, because Frank had given him that opportunity, and Richard had worked so hard to make it back to playing. remember when I said when that accident happened on the 21st of April, Maddie, I was 11 weeks pregnant. Mm-hmm. So it just so happened that our daughter was going to be born when the World Cup was on. And it was, for me, it was a no-brainer. It was, you have to do this for you. And it wasn't even about rugby league. It was more than that. It was overcoming that hurdle of all the mental trauma that he'd been through and everything we'd been through. And so it was a really, once again, it was a funny situation because it was hard. It wasn't hard for me. It was easy for me. I had my mum, I had my family, I had my support. It was easy for me. I was in Australia, he was in England. He missed the birth of his first child.
I had the New Zealand Rugby League phone on it. Can you imagine how expensive it was back then?
It was about $2.5.
Yes. It was the brick phones.
Yeah. The brick phone, I was on it and I was going,
hello?
like I was on there 9 hours ago, everything's all right? Like 9 hours? Like, really?
First birth, horrendous, long.
Word. That was on a phone. What could you do? You'll have to be an experienced presenter, right? Yeah, well, Carrie is just on his side now. Yep, she's starting to open up her legs. Yep. The doctor's just waving in. Yes, it's a little bit quick, but it's had a good little sidestep. In he goes.
Don't bring back memories for me, please, Richie. I was there with my wife.
That would have been the biggest phone bill in the history of the world.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's funny. It was interesting.
So anyway, it all worked out. The daughter was born.
Yeah.
Healthy. He played. He wasn't injured again.
About the Player of the Year, New Zealand Rugby League Player of the Year.
Yes.
Awesome.
So it all worked out.
Even just, you guys describing the story, like, man, it's, I myself am getting emotional just listening to it, man, like, in terms of how you guys, went through
how you guys cope. How you guys cope with it, eh?
Mind-boggling, like, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy for what we knew of it, not you getting injured and then, no, he's back for the World Cup, great. But it's nice to know everything that went on to get there for you, not just physically, but mentally, for your family as well. So, yeah, really appreciate you telling us a bit of the background around it as well.
Yeah, and I think,
and for me, just hearing you talk,
I love.
Yeah,
and I love the fact that there's always a story. Everyone's got a story, right? Because that's what it is. Hey, you see people going out, you see people playing, you see people's performances, either high or low, but there's always a reason behind it too. There's always a reason. And it's incredible, isn't it? There's so many factors that come into play when you're playing sport or in life in general.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what I've taken a lot from, like, because I always have that little self-doubt in my head too. And even with my body position, you mentioned about that, and it's just like those little things. Maybe the next day, tomorrow, when I go into work, I could like change a couple of things and so forth. Probably not like that, but
language, like we've all said it. I've learned so much in the years I've done it, and it's all the power of language. And seriously, I'm not 100% always certain about stuff, but I do understand what it takes to get your mindset right. And that's one of them, man. It is. It is the enabler or the immobilizer of most, that fear of what it really is, and that's a big part of the game. We spend, 80% of our time training, but about 20% on mindset, It's almost should be the other way around. Not to that extent, but you know what I mean. There should be more of that embedded in it.
And so what sort of stuff are you working on now? Like, you got a bit on your plate by the looks?
No, I've joined I Am Hope with Mike King about eight months ago, and it's been fascinatingly cool. I really enjoy it. That's my passion. I love helping people, clearly through what I've been through. So I've got an empathy around helping other people. This organisation is incredible. So it gives me that. It actually just ticks every box basically as a job. To be honest, I revel in it. It's such a cool place to work. And then I've always done sort of mentoring youth to employment as well. So I had the pastoral care component of it as well. And just everything. Like I love mentoring. I love life coaching people. It really does. It fills my cup big time.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man.
I don't always get it right, but I give it a good go.
Yeah.
No,
For
definitely.
sure. Well, yeah, we're happy to give everything that you're doing a good plug on our podcast, because we've got a good solid 4 or 5 listeners at the moment. So
That's all. It only takes one. that one person will change the other person, and then there's a spider web.
yeah, it just starts out with all our parents listening.
Have you got the emails for those 4 people, please?
on the database?
Database.
Oh no!
Got to increase my followers.
Oh, far out. Well, have we scared Carrie off? Is she still around? Or?
No, I'm here.
Oh, yeah, you're still there.
I
I just
didn't want to interrupt.
No, you're
No.
I just wanted
Discrimination.
just wanted to say, guys, we had sort of a set list of kind of questions we were going to run through, and like I think we've kind of just gone with the flow in terms of talking to you guys, and thank you for sharing your story, because I understand it's not easy for you to share it. It was really quite moving. I've been really moved on this episode. So I just want to say to you guys, thanks so much for joining us. We'll 100% get you back, because we've only got through like about half of the questions we were actually going to ask. And we'll get both of you back as well.
It was my fault.
No. It was worth it.
She was always honest. She's always been honest.
Yeah, it's been great.
No, this has been honestly such an incredible interview and a chance for us to talk to you guys. So thank you so much for joining us.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Thank you,
No,
guys.
thank you so
Thank you
much.
guys.
Yeah.
Too.
Thank you.
We'll get you back.
So we're going to get you back.
And we'll start drafting up that new podcast as well, Keeping Up with the Barnetts, or working title. But
Yeah. There's
Busy
only
with the
one
Barnetts.
person
busy
here.
with the Barnetts.
Yeah.
Sorry, Rich is not here now, but I'll just it's the Carrie show. And I just want to say a 2-minute story can be stretched out to about 1 hour.
Hey, I'm a female. It's okay.
That's why you're very good tacticians, eh?
Exactly.
You didn't do this, and this is the reason why. But if you were to do this, you'll get that. Excellent. We're on the
And
same.
that's why she's a teacher.
Thank you.
Process and procedures, everybody.
Oh, no.
Dear lads.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks
Yeah,
so
man,
much.
thank you so much.
Take care. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you, guys.
But
See ya.
Kakite.
that was gold. I don't.
That,
That was.
yeah.
Wow.
You can't make that shit up.
Nah.
I need one of these. Sorry, fuck it.
Absolutely.
Don't vape, kids.
I know
don't
we're on
vape.
video. Oh, sorry.
Don't smoke.
He's a legend. He's an absolute legend.
He's a legend.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
funny thing. Like, you
Both of them.
kind of
just-
hear of a
oh my
story
God.
in the news, and you put a few pieces together, but like that's such just the tip of the iceberg. It's like everything that those guys
They're just so
have been through
complimentary of each other. Just like
Yeah,
together, you can just tell they're like, I don't know, it's just, yeah.
I think it also dovetails with a lot of the stuff that he's doing with I Am Hope as well, which is obviously about mental health
Mental health.
in New Zealand. Like, that's the sort of stuff, I think people would appreciate hearing as well. That and even in a pretty dark time for him and his family, it's nice to see, his wife's point of view on things, that there is a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think he's, it was really inspiring talking to him.
No,
Because you can see that he'd overcome adversity, and now he's moving on to other things, and he's moving on to helping people in a real significant way. And I don't think we get to see enough of that. So just a positive person. Like, he could have easily gone the other way, and just gone down the rabbit hole of negativity and ended up how, unfortunately, too many people end up.
In fact, he came back and played for 4 seasons, and after probably one of the most horrific incidents, when you think about it.
That's
Obviously
an
apart
achievement
from
in itself,
Yeah.
yeah. And I really loved touch on belief, and I think he nailed it right. Like I think where the current crop of players, you think about the Warriors, is if they can start to build that belief, it's going to take time, but once you get to that status, which we had, back in 2002 and the teams of 2011, where you could take the field and you knew you had the confidence to dominate as well. That's what's been missing.
I also like that point about, when you look across the field and you see your opponent and you go, I'm going to beat you. Like, I think it really boils down. I know it's very much a team game, but I really like that thought process around just bringing it right back down to its simplest form of it's me versus you, and I am going to beat you.
Yep.
And I'd love to see more of that from the Warriors, and I see that with a guy like Tom Ale. Like, I see in his performance, it's almost like he's thinking, I am going to be the best prop on this park.
Yep.
The way he plays, he might not be that person, but the way he plays and the way he puts his energy, he plays that way. So I think that was a really important point that Richie touched on as well.
Yeah, I honestly feel like we could have done almost a full episode on just chatting about the self-doubt. Because, man, like, if there was something that really rang true to me, that was hearing those words, because for me, through my whole life, I've been riddled with it, like just always afraid to fail, always afraid to, really try hard on things, because, you get called to try hard. So, I just think there's man, even that point alone, we could have probably gone on for hours, even though we have gone on for hours.
I think we all learned something from that.
No, I definitely learned something from that. Just like even the littlest things, in terms of how you present yourself and all that stuff. And like I said, it made me feel like hearing that he had a bit of this kind of nervousness. And I get that a lot too, like to your point, Jared. I get sometimes this imposter syndrome. Like, am I good enough? Should I be there? And hearing him say that as someone of his stature, kind of like, if he can overcome this, then, hey, why can't I? He's amazing. And both of them are amazing. Oh, man, we've got to get them back on.
Lovely company.
Yeah.
Also, you can tell Linda that he's still as attractive as he was.
God, I think it was Jenny who said that.
Oh, was it Jenny?
Yeah. Pretty sure it was Jenny.
Sorry, Linda.
Linda would have been sad too, I would have said. Anyways, fire up. Almost need a drink to kind of recover from that awesome interview. Isaac, tell us about NRL fantasy for Warriors Anonymous this year. What's going on, bro? So you got a few comps up and running.
Wow, have we what? I mean, we've got the Warriorholic with his fantasy comp through Supercoach. We love you, Warriorholic. Check him out on YouTube. Now on YouTube as well. God bless him.
Also, if anyone's just on the point of the Warriorholic, he made a slight typo on one of his YouTube videos. He was supposed to type the word nudge, but he left the G off it and it said nude. So he's like, I want to give YouTube a nude, and it was like, oh, jeez.
This video has been flagged for R18.
No news.
But anyway, back to fantasy news. So we have the Warriorholics competition. We have our standard salary cap fantasy league. And the new addition this year is the NRL draft. So if you've ever been a fan of their NFL draft and familiar with it, you might want to jump on board. Or even if you haven't done that sort of thing before and you want to try something different from the normal salary cap league, jump on board. There's still spaces available in both leagues. And the draft starts this Sunday at around lunch, I think. So exciting times in fantasy world.
Very exciting. Got to say, there's nothing quite like the thrill of doing a draft and anything really. You can draft anything, guys.
Who's your number one pick then? Who's the first player off the board?
I've been throwing it around. I've been throwing it around in my head, and I'm not entirely sure. I'm genuinely unsure, but I think it will be determined by where in the order I am in terms of what I'm thinking. So I mean, there's always a guy like Teddy who's always strong. And then you've got Nico Hines, Mr. Slick. Slickety slick. But then again, it's just it's going to be interesting to see how many teams there are. There's probably going to be more draft teams than actual NRL teams, yeah? Is it? So that's going to be an interesting wrinkle.
20 team maximum in both leagues. The salary cap one is filling up pretty quickly, though. But if there's enough demand, I'm happy to set up another league just because everyone loves fantasy, whether you're good or bad at it. So jump on board.
Yeah, awesome. Before we jump on out of here, I just want to mention that our mate Richie over at Warrior Nation, he's got an awesome supporters pre-game meetup coming up for the round 2 game. That's in Sydney. So all the away games are going to be doing some cool stuff. So Saturday, March 11, before the Roosters game, there's going to be a bit of a get-together at the Olympic Hotel in Paddington. Apparently it's 120 metres away from the stadium. So there's going to be a few drinks and just, catch-ups there. I'm going to be there. Going to be interested to see how long this 120 metres gets after a few beers. But it's going to be a good old day. Saturday, March 11, before the Roosters game. I think that's a double header as well. So that's before the New South Wales Cup game and the NRL game. So just keep it keep it locked on Warrior Nation. They've got a Facebook group. Check them out. It's got all the events, all the whole calendar going on. So you have a little looks on there if you haven't already, because it's going to be good for the home games are going to be awesome. The away games are going to be awesome. So that's all we can do as fans, I suppose. We'll just we'll be there to lend a lung and have a laugh. So anything else you boys want to cover off before we jet on out of here?
No,
I think we're good.
I've got nothing.
All right. Well, let's go through the voice. Moneta, we'll catch you next week, right?
Amazed. Yeah, man. No, catch everyone again next week.
It'll be quite as an emotional journey next week, but it's all good. Daniel Whatakura, we'll see you in a week as well, bro.
Kaki te. Yeah, we've got a week to kind of rest before the season begins. So,
yes,
week to get a fucking attack sorted.
And also Isaac Sauce, bro. We'll see you this time next week.
See you next week. Great podcast, boys. And for everyone listening, like, subscribe, tell people about the podcast and the video. I think you'll really get a good kick out of this episode. So yeah, do it.
Absolutely, boys. And next week as well, we're gonna have a little preview as to what's going to be happening in Wellies as well before the big round 1 game against the Knights. I'm excited for you boys. Oh my goodness. But anyways, everyone, this has been Warriors Anonymous. What an episode this has been. Man, oh man. Thanks again to the BARNETTS for joining us. My name is Jared Cronin. We'll catch you next week and go the Warriors.